Meta's Reality Labs reports a loss of $13.7 billion on VR and AR last year. So they just had their earnings call. It's crazy. They just had their earnings call. At the time in which you're listening to this, it would be last week, where they talked about how much money has been invested into that area, right? Obviously, this is for their hardware, like the Quest, Oculus, as well as the metaverse. But very interesting, right? One of the things that they did was they started to give the AR and VR investment its own, think of it as its own category or its own tab on their balance sheet. And so rather than just mixing it in with all of their other spending, it has its own line item. And so you're going to see Reality Labs, boom. And so, of course, if you're an investor or people who are paying attention to what the company's activity is, you're automatically going to zoom in and say, whoa, 13.7 billion, what's happening there? So that has always been something that's created some drawback from the people. But I want to give some numbers, right, to give you some context around this. And so they acquired Oculus, which is the hardware company that actually gave them the opportunity to start building the metaverse, for $2 billion back in 2014. They've continued to invest money regularly to build it to what you see now. But in the last 2 years alone, they dropped $10.2 billion into the division in 2021, $13.7 billion in 2022. And by the way, these are operating losses, meaning it's money that you're putting into the business and you're not making enough revenue back to cover that loss. And so you're talking about just in the last 2 years, somewhere close to 24 or almost $25 billion has been invested into Reality Labs in the metaverse. Crazy, right? Crazy. Now, in listening to what Mark Zuckerberg had to say about this, he's still very optimistic and continuing to do this, right? Meaning that he's still going all in. He's going to continue to invest and put in money regardless of the resentment that the investors are having toward him and the company for putting so much money toward this part of the company. But he's still all in. Now, for me, as a third party looking in and just evaluating, I think of a couple of things, and I think here's where we can extract some lessons as business people building our brands or whatever it is as it relates to what we're doing. Number one, when you think about the hype that came out around the pandemic, I think it was 2020, 2021, when people really started jumping on Oculus and the metaverse, and we started to see that going off, virtual land, virtual real estate, all of this stuff, right? It was like all at once. Even then, he was saying, hey, we're still about 5 years out. Mm-hmm. Hey, we're still about 5 years out. So it lets you know that he's thinking something differently than what the current landscape is showing. And so immediately the lesson I extract from that is, are you willing to go all in on your business? Are you willing to go all in on your brand, that even when the hype goes away, you're still dedicated to what you said you were going to do when you first started, right? Because right now, with these losses and the stock price plummeting the way it has, I think the stock price almost took a $200 hit. It's not as sexy to talk about virtual reality or AR and metaverse right now, but still locked in on that vision. So super great lesson for us to take right there. Second thing is, he is looking at what is happening in AI. He's looking at all of these different things that's happening. And I love that he's not being a bandwagon fan and immediately dropping all of his chips and saying, oh, ChatGPT just got 100 million users and they're the fastest company to ever do that. Let me leave everything and just go to AI. He's like, yo, let me stay dedicated to what I started back in 2014. And even where I am right now, I know I'm going to continue to invest up until the next 3 to 5 years. So again, with some of these moves, especially in the tech world, it's really unpredictable. But as business people, as brand builders, we have to step aside and just look and see what are the traits, what are the moves that are being made that we can learn from. And I look at those two, right? Staying true to your mission, not getting distracted and jumping on to what's hot right now. Those are obviously two great lessons we can extract. So Mark, we may disagree from time to time, but I appreciate those gems, my man.